What's going on, guys? It's Radar here with the final round of the 2014 Season 4 of the Supercar Series. We're at Mount Panorama for 33 laps. I'm doing this from replay, mainly because if the race gets super boring I could just cut it out. Turns out this one wasn't super boring, so it's okay. And it's very hard to talk and drive at Bathurst. So we've got 33 laps. Revs are building, lights about to go out. And we get a... Is it going to be normal? It's going to actually be a good start for once. I've got my start down pat now, so we've got Mitch McLeod up there on our right, Michael Cracknell on our right quarter panel right now. There's a massive understeer at turn 1, tyres are super cold. Mitch makes an uncharacteristic mistake and we get on past him. So we started in 5th, we're up to 4th. So we got the two Evolution Racing Australia guys, that's the new team. We got Ian Ford right ahead, Bo Cubis, and then Jared Fieldcell in the lead. Josh Burden behind us with a couple of other guys. So settling in for the long run here. So far this week had a few good results in the Americas Series. On Saturday lunchtime we started pretty high well up the field, probably the highest qualifying I've done in the Americas, and we got spun on turn 1, so we went to last. And then got just caught up in some back marker rubbish. Well, not back marker, I was actually racing for position, but we got caught up in some of that rubbish and killed the top end speed. It was about 15 kilometers an hour down on pace down Conrod Straight. So it's pretty hard to pass cars, which meant that excuse me, it was a bit of a struggle getting back through the field, but pure car speed got me all the way back up to 8th. So I started in 5th, got back to 8th after going to last. So it was a good fight. I didn't get to 8th until about the second to last lap. Now the weather this week here at Bathurst is grip city. There's so much front end grip, you actually have to try and take some away to make the rear end stick up and do what you want it to do. So we're turning some very quick lap times. Qualifying pace, Jared Fieldcell's a freak. He did like a 2:02.6 or 3, I can't remember what he did. But it was a 2:02, very low 2. I've done a 2:03 flat qualifying time, but in practice I did 2:02.9. And race pace, yeah, mid to high 2:03s to very low 2:04s, so it's a ridiculously quick weather this week. Very similar to the OSR 1000 qualifying weather. Just made a mistake there, pushing a bit hard. I don't know what's going on, but I've got something funny going on with my throat at the moment, so if I do clear it, excuse me, just so I can keep breathing and talking properly. The last few races we've done, so we did the Sunday night races, and this is the main race on Monday, so the Monday early race. We pulled away from Josh Burden pretty easy, generally beating him by about 20 seconds. We managed a second in the Sunday late race. That was the only one we did on Sunday. And the race before this we managed to get a win. We beat Ian Ford, who's now the car ahead of us. Ian Ford's the car in second now. Bo and Ian just did a swap because Ian's a bit quicker. So Jared's clearing off at the moment as expected, but Bo sticking in there. Probably going to be a cork in the bottle at some point because it seems to be a bit slow across the top, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. Now I am finding the Commodore to be a much more enjoyable car to drive around Mount Panorama compared to the Falcon. I don't know whether it's just the car itself suits me nicer, because I've done definitely a lot better this season against some of the bigger names than I have previously. So the new Commodore, whether it's just suiting me or whether I just have a thing with Bathurst now. Bathurst is usually my bogey track. I've actually never finished an official race here until this week, so I busted that bogey. So we've had some very good results, got some good points. It's just a shame, you know, I only did half a season. Well, it's not my fault really, that's a work thing. So did half a season, we managed to keep in the top 10, only doing 3 weeks out of the 5 that were counted. So right now we've got a run on Bo, and I generally don't let up here. I'm going to keep it on. I lift a little bit and then we touch, and that's a bit of a moment for him and me. So very late on the brakes, so Bo goes a bit deep. I try the odd crisscross, and it's inevitable. There's always going to be a bit of a slip and slide if you're the car on the outside for the second part of the chase. There's generally a bit of contact, a little bit of a fender bump, but that's nothing major. So at the moment we've got the pace on Bo, and we're just trying to find a way past. We're having a look here into turn 1. Thinking about it, but he's covering the line, so nothing on. We'll just tuck in and we'll take the same one as him. So we've both got the same compromised line, compromised exit, same speed. We've got the draft now. Josh is having a look in our mirror as well, just to see if he can capitalise on the mistake here. So I got Jake Burton just a couple of tenths behind Josh. But here we go with the lunge into turn 2. Get it stopped. And if you're on the high side, there's nowhere to go, you just got to pull in. So in tucks Bo, we're up into third. I think this is the highest we've actually ever run on a Monday night main race. I mean, the biggest names aren't here, but still fairly happy with the third place running at the moment. But a little bit of a heart stopper there. Got a bit early on the throttle and nearly put it in the fence. Now with it being 33 laps, we will need a pit stop. The range on the new fuel tank, which takes 112 litres, is about 24 to 25 laps, depending on how heavy a foot you have. I can only get about 24 out of it. So we're looking to do a midway pit stop, just to split the tyres evenly. Filling up with about 44 litres, if I remember correctly. We've put 44 litres in the tank here. So yeah, the 4 tyres, tyre degradation is nothing major on this car this season. It's generally the same as it was a couple of seasons back, the Ford. If you overpressure them or you overheat them, that's where the main degradation is going to come from. Otherwise, it's not really a factor. The car kind of stays the same. This race is probably the one I've had this week. Is probably the one I've had to make the most bar changes to the car with, simply because there's such a misbalance, if that's the word, because the car is unbalanced. There we go. The front's got so much grip that the rear just wants to just do whatever it wants, so you run the rear a bit stiffer, the front a little bit softer, just to make it behave. That's at least what I did. It worked nicely for me, and then just going up on the rear bar every so often kept the car in check. So right now we just did a 2:04.9, definitely not my quickest lap. I've done a 2:03.4 on this race set in the middle of the race, so definitely got the pace in it. But right now Jared and Ian are just clearing out. Jared more so than Ian, but he's sticking with him nicely, and Bo is just that a very annoying blue and yellow car stuck in my rearview mirror. And of course after the race I'll put up the hot lap. It's just going to be the quickest lap from this race that I did, which was a 2:03.5, I think. I'm not going to pull it up and have a look while I'm recording it, but I think it was a 2:03.5. I'll tell what the time was in the hot lap, but let me explain it a bit more with a bit of field of view, and there's no car in my mirror that I'm actually worrying about. I noticed in this race my time got a lot slower with that guy in my mirror than if I pulled away. So one of the hardest things I'm finding with this new Commodore is how pogo stick like it is when you hit a curb. That's one of the biggest things at the mountain, because down through the S's you want to hit that curb on the left because it'll keep the car straight. It means you're not putting as much work and carrying more speed down and use a lot less brake, and just engine brake it most of the way. But if you can't get the car to land off that curb nicely, you're going to be slower down the mountain, because you've got to avoid the curb. Otherwise you're going to be finding yourself meeting a wall at a vast rate of knots. So if you've got to get the car to settle nicely on curbs, and you don't touch this curb. You used to be able to launch it over this curb and you get a nice run. Excuse me, a little burp there. You don't touch that curb anymore, and you've never touched this curb here at Murray's, because simply it is the destroyer of lap time. Even if you touch it, you got to wait for the car to settle. It's mainly the front end, because I don't know what it is. The front end just wants to bounce a lot more than the rear. But that means still you can't quite get the power down because the car's all over the place and you're flinging your hands everywhere trying to get under control. So at the moment in this Commodore, I think for a while until I figure out the best curb riding compression, high speed and low speed compressions, we're going to be staying off the curbs a fair bit. Even this curb up here, you never really used it, but you could touch it before and get away with it, but now you touch it and you lose it a couple of tenths. Now of course news in the V8 world is the Ford Falcon came out, so it's week 13 per se. We've got a 6-week season right now, so the Falcon came out, which means we finally get that Ford and Holden rivalry we always wanted. I'm staying in the Holden simply because Holdens are better than Fords, and it looks nicer than the Falcon does. So they've renamed the Falcon. The new one is the Ford Falcon FG V8. The old car is the Ford Falcon FG01 V8, and then it'll have circa 2012 next to it. So there's an easy way to differentiate between the two cars, because they're identical almost on the outside, except the one big thing you'll notice is there's no more roll bar across the windscreen in the new car compared to the old car. But essentially it is Holden physics, the physics of the Holden in regards to the setup options and all sort of stuff, slapped onto the Ford body with the Ford aerodynamics and all that sort of rubbish. And the setups are interchangeable, so the Holden setups will work on the Ford and vice versa, which is, I think that's a nice touch. It means those teams that have drivers who want the Holden and the Ford, the two drivers, or how many drivers drive the car, can interchange setups without worrying about, oh, do you drive the Holden, do you drive the Ford? Now, I just had a terrible last sector there. I overshot the chase, and then I got on the grass at Murray's exiting, and essentially killed my lap time. And let's Bo get closer. We still managed to do a 2:42, but that's probably about 3/10 slower than I want to be right now. I should be easily doing 3/8s, 3/9s if I was by myself or just chasing a car. Generally, I think this race proved to me that I'm quicker when I'm chasing a guy, and I'm not as quick when I've got a guy in my mirror. Mainly because I think I tend to look at the mirror a little bit too much, or look at the relative to find out where I'm quicker far too often. I'm not just focused on driving the car, and then I find all the issues with the car. It's like, oh, it's understeering here, it's doing this, doing that, and I'm like, this car is terrible, so I just drive terribly. But then I'm getting clean air, and the car does exactly what I want, and it's the exact same car I had a couple laps before, and I'm like, okay, that's just a placebo effect for you. The Bo's sticking around very nicely. Jared and Ian cleared off. I think they're about 10 seconds up the road. I'm not entirely sure because there's no F3, because there's a replay. Josh Burden's about 4 or 5 seconds back with Jake and all the other guys behind him. Now, just a little bit of news as well on the V8 front for me personally. If you're an observant person, you notice the rear wing and the mirror is a different colour. There's a different sponsor on that rear wing. It's because I am now with the Custom Image Motorsport guys. So Jake Burton, Kurt Stenberg, those are the two guys you're probably familiar with from that team. There's a couple other guys, Reese Gardner, who was the other one? James Scanlan. So I think there's about 5, 6 of us at the moment who are active drivers in there that I know of, that I've seen on track, that I've driven with. So that's that for this season. I helped out the guys with the LIT sim racing, getting their V8 supercars off the ground. You know, just gave them a bit of tips on the setup. Did what I planned with was 6 weeks, and then go back out into my privateer world. However, privateer world doesn't last long sometimes. So yeah, these guys stuffing me up after this result. Pretty much, I was in the TTR TeamSpeak for the race, just having a chat with the guys, and the team owner Andrew, so I was like, what? How'd you do that? So that's all squared away now. Pretty much, I think it was done from Monday night. It's like, yep, you're in this team. But anyway, they're a good bunch of guys, and looking forward to the next, hopefully a longer tenure than I've had with the last team, definitely, and a longer time with these guys than SSR. Yeah, we're just getting through a back marker here who's got not much of a car left. He gets out of the way pretty quick, which is nice. I'm just going to have a quick, when we get down Conrad, a lap check, because I haven't been counting, just to give an idea of how long is left in the race. Well, obviously if you're watching this you've got the timer down the bottom, but it means you can skip to the lap you might want. But by this stage I know for sure that I'm going to be in a battle with Bo or Race. I've given up hope of chasing the guys ahead of me and catching them. So right now we're in a fight with Bo, and we've done 7 laps. So we're crossing the line this time by to start or complete lap 8. I'm not too sure, it's always confusing. But either way, this is lap 7 we're on right now, so. I just want to address quickly a topic of the lack of content I've been putting out recently. For me, a work trip isn't like a normal person's work trip where it might be a couple of days to a week. Excuse me. For me, a work trip might be 2 weeks to a month, even longer. So if there's periods where I go inactive for more than a week, it's generally because I'm away. I generally tell when I'm about to go away. I'll say, you know, lack of content coming up, you know, I'll be away. So it's probably been about, I think it's been about a month since I put out my last video. I was back a week ago, but then back at work it ramped up, so I didn't have much time to get recording in. And then I've been meaning to record this for about 4 days now, but I just got a window of opportunity to do it, so I'm doing it. So if there's a period of inactivity more than a couple of days to a week, just assume I'm away on work, and I will be back in the near future. Basically this video will probably be the last one for a month or two, mainly because Christmas break for me means I go home, which means I leave all my recording gear, all my iRacing stuff where I am, and go back home to the family for Christmas and New Year's and all that jazz, and then I get back and go straight to another work trip. So I'll probably be back regularly mid-February for anyone interested out there. Again, I'll be in the V8, and maybe, I honestly don't know what other content at the moment. There'll be some more other helping hand videos as stuff rolls out that I find I can put across well into a video that isn't just me making a video for the sake of it. It's actually something that I think might be useful, something like that. It's a bit of a moment there coming out of the dipper. I put it in the fence there a couple of races back, so I was very cautious, and the car's all over the place at the moment this lap. Just in the middle of making a bar change, and the car didn't respond the way I wanted, but it should settle down. But yeah, so mid-Feb I'll be back with my more regular videos. You know, definitely the V8 once a week. Maybe, of course, there'll probably be another road series if there's something else out there besides GT3. Maybe some World Sports Car series if more splits. At Australian timings go official. That's always the hard thing. It's either really early on the weekend, and I kind of want to sleep. So generally about 6 in the morning, and I don't feel like racing at 6 in the morning. And then I'll do some ovals in and around there, whether that be IndyCar, truck, NASCAR, whatever. I'll do some ovals at some point. They're never really high on my priority list to actually drive, mainly because I usually get wrecked out of an oval race, just due to either my lack of talent or the lack of talent of others running into me. Either way, oval's not my forte, nor my most enjoyable form of racing. Much prefer road. Nothing against ovals. Ovals are good fun just for having a blast on, you know. I don't really care about my oval I rating. I think it's about 1500 at the moment compared to my road one, which is 3600. So I take care of my road one a bit more than my oval one. And also, just on the videos front, looking to get some 1080p going. Just need to do a little update from hard disk drive to an SSD for recording, so that'll be done throughout my break. I'll just order one of them and have it down here ready to go when I return from Christmas break. So expect 1080 when I get back, compared to what I'm doing now, which is a 720. I did try 1080 the other day, but I just can't quite get the FPS I want with it. I get about 28 and it looks okay, but I don't feel comfortable putting it out there. Before people asked in the comment section what you don't need an SSD to do 1080, I'm running a WD Green hard drive, so yeah, I do. I'm not changing my hard. I figured just get a small SSD and then it's easy to do 1080, not have to worry about is my hard drive quick enough. Again, another shocking run out of the chase, and Bo is right there, but he's not going to try it. We did a 204 flat the last lap, which is kind of where we're looking at being, but yeah, it's not quite quick enough to pull away from him, which is the annoying fact, because I pulled away from him in the last race and the early race, so I'm a bit angry at the moment as to why I'm not pulling away. But quick lap check, we're not far away from our pit stop. beauty of recording a replay is I know what happens. It's just the hard bit about commentating a replay is not giving away what happens. It's got another good run. The draft's pretty good. Up Mount Straight because it's a headwind. That's why we're braking at about the 100 metre board now. If you get a tailwind, it's just after 150 where the hill starts, but we can get to about 100 metres in a quality trim car, and then just before the 100 board in the race, just to be safe, and then we go the tailwind down Conrod, so braking distance is extended just a little bit, so the draft's not as massive, but it still helps. Out of rhythm at the moment across the top. You shouldn't touch that inside curb, and then yeah, miss that curb entirely. The car's just not quite where I want it at this stage. Now, in order to keep you, the viewer, happy, this video would probably go for about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half if we did the full race. I don't want to, you don't want to hear me talk for an hour and a half. I don't want to make you have to think about watching an hour and a half long video, because simply that's just not good. I try, if possible, to keep it, 45 minutes, at least under an hour in the V8, because the V8 does tend to go a little bit longer. So when there's the laps, nothing's going on, no guy in the mirror, I'm not racing anybody. If I'm recording like this, I'll most likely cut it out. If I'm recording live race, live commentary, it's probably a little bit hard for me to cut it out because I can't plan the cutouts. I just kind of do, and here both having a dive, and now Trick, as before I said, the guy on the outside has no chance. Well, I'm a bit different. I don't care about the rules. I'm going to stick it up there and keep it on the inside here in the cutting, and then he has to give up because he will end up in the fence. So we maintain our third place, but that's kind of the first warning shot that he's fired. He's like, yep, I'm willing to pass you, and I will do it. But I've also shown to him that if you're going to pass, you've got to make it a bit better. I'm not just going to roll over and let you through. And one thing with this new car as well is when you come across the top just before Skyline, you got the exit curb up there, and there used to be death curb in the Falcon, whereas now you can actually use that curb. You get over the edge and it becomes death grass, but you can get away with it a lot more, mainly because of the new rear suspension setup. If you hit it with that right rear tyre, it's not going to unsettle the whole car, it's just going to unsettle that rear tyre, which in general makes this car a lot more drivable across the top. I'm finding this car very much more enjoyable than the Falcon, the old Falcon was. I haven't driven the new Falcon though. I'm assuming you can drive the exact same, basically, so I'm not really going to purchase it because I'm not going to drive it. Usually I would purchase the car anyway, just for a test drive, but I'm not going to bother, mainly because it's the same car in a different show. About lap 13 now. I'll do a lap check just to be certain. Yep, lap 13, so we get another absolutely pathetic exit off turn 1, which means I go defensive this time to make Bo decide whether he wants to go around the outside, and he tries it. He's at our door right now because I can hear him in my ear. However, I have the inside line, and he's not going to stick around the outside because he's not crazy stupid like me. I tried it in a race before and I didn't quite work out. I got a bit loose and then I ran side by side with the cutting with the guy who was behind me, the one who wasn't trying to pass me. I was actually trying to pass a dude on the outside. Craig Gunn's 94 didn't work, so the guy behind me tried to pass at the cutting, didn't work out for him. He put it in the fence. So yeah, don't pass at the cutting on the outside, and don't pass at Griffin's Bend on the outside because it doesn't always work. The cutting never works. It's a single line straight unless the guy knows you're there and you're both going to play nice. But just the nature of the corner and the road will push you wide through the first half, and then if you're wide at the first part of the cutting, the road kind of meets at a point where if you cross that point you're sliding into the wall no matter how much talent you have. You can actually see it, you might be able to see it next lap. I'll point it out as we go through the cutting. There's a point where the road's, it cambers nicely for you to pull you around the cutting. There's a point where you climb a lip and then it just wants to stump you into a wall, into the gutter. So right now what I'm struggling with is just a bit of front end understeer. It's not stopping as nice as I want, it's not pointing as much as I want. And the pointing where I want it is coming from it not stopping, because this car is very sensitive to entry speed. So because I'm not getting the car to pull up when I want it and how I want it, I'm not getting the car turned in when I want it and how I want it. And as some of you may have already noticed, I like to turn the car in more early and just use the turn in the rear of the car to get me through the corner and get on the throttle. So if there's no turn in the rear of the car for me, I'm screwed. So you see I point out here, we usually brake about there. Well, there doesn't point out, but we brake a lot earlier for a tailwind up Mountain Straight. Camber's the same on Griffins, it'll push you wide if you get over the lip, but you come in here, so the road is to the left and there's a little rise right about where I put my right wheel. If you get over it, you're going into the fence like Jamie Winkup. There's so many spots on this track where if you're, whoop, I have to hang on to that. That lets Bo catch up. I put in a lot of work, good work across that first little part. I put the gap out to about a second, and then we nearly put it in the fence, so it doesn't work. But you'll find around Mount Panorama there's a lot of spots with just a subtle little bit of camber change, and if you miss it, you're not going to have the ideal line. The big one's through Metal Grate and then across the jump towards Skyline. That's the bigger one. If you hit that jump right, the rear of the car will pivot for you, and then you'll just be able to drive it pretty much straight on through. The car will just follow the curve nicely. But if you miss that jump, you don't quite hit it right, you're going to be carrying the brake a bit longer, you're going to be putting a bit more steering lock in, and you're just going to scrub some speed. So in the draft, Bo will be hitting about 295. I'm getting about 290. I'm getting 292 before I hit the brakes. So he's about 295, 296 in the draft. He's hitting the limiter before the kink, so he's putting some serious speed down. And right now, I'm not even thinking about Jared and Ian. They're gone. They are about 12 seconds up the road. Ian is at least, and Jared's even further, because Jared's just a freak. So we get a much better exit that time off Hell Corner. And one thing I'm finding is the bottom half of the track's the hardest part. The part where it's not as easy to hit a wall, I can't get it right, but across the top, it's like, that's easy. The car just flows nicely for me. And it showed in the race as well. I was definitely probably 2 or 3 tenths quicker across the top than Bo, and Bo was 2 or 3 tenths quicker across the bottom half of the track than me. Part of that would be the draft as well. However, he was just quicker down there and I wasn't. You know, I should be able to brake a little bit later, not having the draft. The aero should be in a bit nicer across my front end than his, but it didn't matter. He was still quicker than me down the bottom, and I was quicker than him across the top, so offset. So that's why we're kind of attached at the hip right now. It's really annoying because I'm sick of seeing that car in my mirror. Because you know, when I'm actually driving live, I've got the virtual mirror and that mirror, so I can see him moving around in that mirror, which is magnified a bit. And then there's him in the virtual mirror where I can see a lot more of what his car's doing, and there'll be spots through his car will lurch at me, I'll see him, feel like he's coming from a long way back down in the chase because he's braking later. So just to give you guys a rough idea of where I had my bars set at, because we've done 15 laps now, This is lap 15. So I had my bars starting at 3 and 5. So 3 on the front, 5 on the rear. Every 6 laps, I had iSpeed up, and that's a terrible exit. That was the one moment I actually nearly put it in the fence, and that was probably the highest heart rate I had most of the race. And it means that Bo can be right there for that run up the mountain, which is terrible because he's got the draft. But back to what I was saying. So 3 on the front bar, 5 on the rear bar. Every 6 laps on iSpeed, it'd be 6 laps since last pit. Up 1 on the rear bar, so 3 and 6, and then it was 3 and 7 for the first stint. Then the second stint, because I had this fuel on board, I'd run it down, so I'd do 17 laps, so I had about 7 laps left in the tank. Add the 44, so then my bars would be 3 and 6. And then after 6 laps, 3 and 7, and then after another 6 laps it'd be 2 and 8. I tried 3 and 8 in one race, and the front end just ploughed like a snowplough through the. It just wanted to hit a wall. So 2 and 8 was a lot better balanced. Meant I could get down the mountain quicker, because that's where I'm generally a bit quicker than most of the guys around me. Is down the hill. Don't use much brake. Use a lot more in the engine. That's why I go 5th. That's why I leave. And I'm off the brake there. Now I'm back on it. I'll give you the next lap through. I'll tell you where I'm actually on the brake, where I'm off the brake. So here I'm off the brake right now, and then once I'm in second, I'm back on the brake. So it might be an ineffective method for some people, but for me it works. It means I'm not using so much brake through the bits that if you are too hard on the brake, it's just going to lock the rears and you're going to be hitting the wall with the wrong end of the car. So we're braking just before 200 meters coming into the chase. That's it's a pretty hard push on the pedal for me. I had a busted up leg as well, so it wasn't easy doing left foot braking. I tried right foot, did not work, so I left foot braked with a busted leg for 66 laps on Monday night, and that was not fun by the end of the second race. So 100 meter board there for that first turn. You'll pull up easy. If you miss it, you're not going to make the turn the way you want it, but it's a turn that's kind of forgiving. There's a few different lines through it, each works, each has its own merits, but for me I like to get right in against that curb, but don't touch it because it'll unsettle the car. So here we go, coming down the mountain. So up to 5th, whack it down to 3rd, off the brake, on the brake again, and then off, and then back on right there at that apex point. Roll it round. You carry the brake through the dipper. It's kind of a weird way I do it. I have the brake on, and I put the throttle on as I'm releasing the brake. It just keeps the car stable for me, gets me a quicker drive off the dipper. And it's very noticeable against the lap traffic how much quicker I am off the dipper compared to them. We built a nice gap on Bo down the mountain. It was shown throughout the whole race. I was definitely quicker, not just across the top, but down the hill than he was. But if I could get to within 0.7, 0.6 seconds away from him before the elbow, I knew I wasn't going to have a threat down the hill. Because the draft helped a little bit, but there's no way he can make up that much time on the brakes unless I made a mistake. But I believe this lap is the one we go into the pits. Yep, so here we go for our pit stop. Bo keeps going around. Probably the most fun pit entry. Hit that curb on the left, and then you just floor it in on the limiter down to 60k an hour. It feels very slow. You come from 290 on Conrod to 60 km/h in the pit lane. So with a 5th pit stall, I believe. So you're not going to see my lollipop man because replay. So we're here for about 20 seconds as the length of the stop. So 4 tyres now. They've changed that in the last build, so that the 4 tyres are done at the same time. To meet the new rules, when the Ford Falcon came out, it was the old rules of only 2 rattle guns at a time. So all 4 tyres at once takes about 9 seconds. Waiting on the fuel, that's why I got my foot planted so I can get a good drive off when the car drops, and away we go. So it's about 20 seconds to add 44 litres of fuel, and 4 tyres. And we put it into second as we lead the lane so we don't get the wheel spin. Now while we're coming up the mountain, we are just adjusting our bars again. So brake bias, we always go down and click on the brake bias as the run goes on. At least I found. So we go back up 1 click, front bar to 3, rear bar to 6, and we're off for the last half of this race. And in the meantime, Bo's still circulating on nice warm tyres, setting good lap times in clean air. That's the big thing. He's got lots of clean air now. For me, I don't know whether I was holding him up, you know, not letting him get to his full pace, or whether he was actually pushing hard and he's going to back it off a little bit. But for me, the outlap's the important part. If we get a good outlap, get the tyres warmed up well, when he pits, I'll be on in a nice rhythm, and he won't be, simply because he's sat in the pits for the last 20 seconds. I think it takes about 40 seconds for a guy to get through the pit lane. It's a fairly long transit time, and then the pit stop's pretty long as well. Generally, if the car in front that you're racing pits when you're... I'll show you when we come down at Conrod, but if he pits at a certain point, you're going to get past him. I've figured it out over the weekend doing the races. You know, the guy would pit when... So the leader's pitting now. At this point, okay, I got past him, cool. So pretty much, if he says it anywhere after this little, where the rise starts, so after this little end of the Dunlop signing, if he says that if the car's in the pits, then you're going to get past him. If he's not, you're not going to get past him. And unfortunately for me, he said it too early, so Bo gets out ahead. He's actually already put off the pit limiter. He's going around the exit there, and oh no, he hasn't got in yet. Whoops, wrong lap. I just blew it anyway. He gets out ahead of me in the pit stop. He pits in a couple of laps time. I usually when I race the guy, he pits the lap after me, but this guy kept going. So that's my bad for not remembering well enough. But yeah, Bo does get out ahead, not by much, but he gets out ahead of me when he does pit. So now we've got some clean air. The tyres are up to pressure, but they're not up to temp. It takes about 2 laps to get the optimal temperatures into the tyre, so we're not going to set our fastest lap time on the planet when we come around this time, but it's going to be quicker, hopefully, than what we've been running with Bo in our mirror, provided we keep mistake free. Just a little mistake there coming out of dipper. Went in a bit too quick, which means the back end slides and we just had to catch it. We couldn't get to full throttle. Usually what you want to do is you want to be at about half throttle as the car lands, and then you just floor it, and the car will just kind of follow the road. That's Bo leaving the pit lane right there, and you can see he's about a second in front, but he's on stone cold tyres and I'm now on optimal temperature tyres, as can be seen by the Toro 37, by far my fastest lap of the race so far. I think it's 3 times quicker than what I'd set with Bo in tow. Oh, look at that, I'm a poet, didn't even know it. But you can see he's a bit squirmy, and we're just on a mission because I don't want to become 4th. I'm sick of coming 4th or not finishing on the podium in races. I want this 3rd place back, because I showed I could fight him off. I was a bit quicker than him in places. I needed to be quicker, so I deserve that 3rd place. It's mine. I want it back. So blowtorch on and applied right now. Usually you can't see much. behind him. So you're kind of just looking around the left-hand corner of his car because you spot all the apex points. He grazes the wall there, which gives me a bit of hope that he's damaged the car, but generally not because these holds are a bit tougher now. So we back off down the mountain because what I want is a nice run here off the dipper. But he gets a pretty good one as well. So it's all about the elbow now. Making sure we get a nice clean exit, get it nice up in that white line. Don't hit that exit wall and draft away. It's a nice long straight, it's about 1 kilometre long. Very, very high speed. And he's not leaving me much room, so let's make some room. Lift off the throttle, going on the inside here. Have to lift. He's still on the inside. I thought I didn't leave him enough room there, but I did. If this was Lee Ellis, I'll be doing somersaults right now, but I'm not. And we managed to get past him. So moved on, up into third. Back to my Lee Ellis reference, the OSR Bathurst 1000, lap 4. Same move was made, except I was being passed by Lee Ellis, who was making a move down the inside into the chase, and he hit my door, and I started doing somersaults. So if you want to watch that, that's the line of the broadcast, you'll be able to see it. So yeah, we still survived. We're back in third. We got past Bo. Yes. So let's hold. We got to hold on now for third place. That's the key thing. We're on lap 21, so we got 12 to go. 12, 13. One of those two. So right now I'm really focused on, and I missed a gear there, didn't quite get the shift right, on just getting away from Bo, making the most of my optimal tyre situation, and just pulling away a little bit. The gap's a bit bigger than usual coming down into the chase here, through the kink. It's bigger than usual, but lap traffic, as can be seen ahead, can very quickly change that. Especially around here, if you catch them across the top and they're not aware of what's going on, which is often the case, they'll hold you up for half a lap and there's a couple of seconds gone straight away. And this week, the talent level between the drivers really showed in the lap times. Watkins, Glenwood, which was the last time I actually hopped in the car just before Bathurst, was the talent gap wouldn't have shown on the lap boards because it was pretty much an oval. But you could use 6 gears instead of 4 and you turned right instead of left. But Bathurst, if you don't have enough skill, if you're not talented in the car, you're not comfortable with it, you can't get it to do what you want, it's going to show, especially across the top. So like guys were doing 204s, me, and then there'll be people doing 207s, mid-pack, so a bit of difference. Yeah, we just did a 236, so again we set our fastest lap of the race once we get past Bo. But Mr. HRT, who's taken off half of his quarter panels, is ahead of us again. So right now I'm going to catch him in the worst spot, which will be at the S's, which is just not what I want at all. So I've got to back off a little bit so I can slingshot past him coming down through the dipper. But as you might have seen in the mirror there, Bo just launched it into the wall. So I don't know at this point, I don't see the pressure, and I'm like, he's left me a gap. Oh wait, he hasn't. Oops. That was hide and mouth moment. His race is ruined. I did say sorry, but you know, it looked like he would leave me a gap because he did it before as well. He left a gap for me, nice gap, and then he just closed the door. So whether he didn't see me or I just threw it in there because I was in a rush and didn't see Bo behind me, not behind me anymore. That incident occurred. Once it happened, I just off a throttle, let him spin, hit the wall and then I get to drive through. You know, trying to avoid the accident I caused. So yeah, Bo's out. He went into the wall quick. I watched it after the race and basically he hit Skyline, put it down into third, and the car just went to the wall, into the right. So that was not good for him, but very good for me. No more pressure behind. Josh Burns about 10 seconds back. Ian's miles up the road. So the race right now for me is just finish. So at this point, there's no other cars around me I'm going to race. There's just this lap car ahead and there's no one else I actually come into contact with. I just put out consistent lap times, 2:04.0. I think I did about 2:04 flats. It mixed in there was a 2:03.5, but yeah, except for this mistake. Just massive consistency through the rest of the race. We're going to just fast forward to the end of the race here, so we'll see when we get towards our last few laps. Alrighty, here we are, about to cross the line to start the final lap of the race. As you can see, I did 2:03.7 last time by. Just skipping through the laps, I noticed my quickest lap was a 2:03.50, which was then followed by a 2:03.52, and then bulk 2:04 flats, another 2:04 flat there. So last lap, got a lap car ahead of us, and our former teammate Todd Parks, and there's our new teammate Jake Burton leaving the pit lane. At this point, my focus is bring it home in third place. Highest ever result in a main SOF, you know, the main Monday night race for me, thanks to a lot of the guys not showing up, but you can only race who turns up on the night. Very good SOF as well. I think it was very close to 4,000. I was car 17 with a 3,500 I rating, so that shows how good the SOF was. As Toddy just lets us through there. Not pushing too hard down the hill because there's no pressure on it anymore. By this stage, Josh Burton's about 14-15 seconds behind us. So no pressure at all from anywhere. Ian's about 13 seconds up the road. Once Bo put it in the fence, that gap stabilised a lot because I was doing the lap times I knew I could do. Which was proving to me the fact that when there's a car in there, I'm slower than when I'm chasing the car or when I'm by myself. So, through the chase for the final time, into Murray's corner to bring home a third place in the main SOF for the final round of the Supercar Series. Bocubes actually end up winning the championship. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll roll the hot lap, and I'll see you on the flip side. Alright, guys, so here's a hot lap of Mount Panorama Bathurst in the V8 Supercar. So second gear for the final turn. The start finish line is at the Supercharged Auto Bridge. Now you're going to get to fourth gear. 100 metre boards being on a brake down to second gear. You want to get it nice in against this entry curb here. Try and clip the first bit and then use a little bit of the exit curb just to stabilise the car. So this is where you take your brake before you hit the mountain. You're going to get to fifth gear. You might hit 6 in the draft, but you don't want to pull it. You want to hit the limiter because that's, you know, in perfect time to brake. So you're going to get just before the 100 metre board. It's kind of on field. There was a shadow on the road during the race, but it's not in the replay that I used. Right in against this curb. Try and avoid the exit one if possible because it can pull you into the wall. But you're going to get to fourth gear, braking just where the corrugated fence is down to third, and then to second gear before you keep it in close against the wall. Bring on the throttle gently and then floor it. Short shift to third before the jump. We're going to keep it in third through this flip-flop here, through the Fujitsu area. Avoid the wall, this will catch you out pretty quick. Fourth gear, through metal grate. Half throttle and then off the throttle. A little bit of touch at the brake, hop the curb, full throttle, and then off again on the brake at the jump. Bring it on slowly and then full throttle right here. Up to fifth gear and then down to third. Use the engine to brake the car. Down to second again, straddle the curb, get it stopped right up against this coat high wall, and then the funny braking technique I mentioned in the race. Floor it out of here. up to 4th gear before you get down to 3rd gear, off the brake, and then 2nd right at the rise, in close against the Falcon Bridge. Watch the exit wall because it can catch you out and it will end your race in a hurry. Now you take your break. It's about a 20-second trip, maybe longer down Conrod. You're going to get 6th gear in the draft, almost 300 kilometers an hour by yourself, 292 to 295 depending on how you trim the car. Flat out through the kink here, use as much of this apron as possible, hold it flat, and then turn the wheels, whack on the brakes down to 2nd gear, right up against the curb, don't touch it, got a bit loose, I touched the curb, bad. 3rd gear, hard on the throttle, if the car gets loose, it's going to stick, use the exit curb, up to 4th. 5th gear, before you get back on the brakes to 2nd gear for the final turn, do not touch this curb, it will kill your lap time. So that is a lap of Mount Panorama, a 2035 flat, so thanks you guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the flip side.